Let's turn off the music for this. All right, this article, let's see, Employment Selection Day. A coming of age ceremony for World Camp, excellent. References for the resources, okay, codex, all right. Employment Selection Day is a ceremony that occurs in July for 16-year-olds on their last day of education. At this ceremony, the 16-year-olds get their first extra employment position. Extra employment positions tend to be undesired or tedious, but still need to be done and are assigned positions. Regardless of choice, they have to do the assigned role. Their skills, interests are not taken into account as the assignment is random and based on luck. However, the person's zone and segment of residence are taken into account. All citizens that are eligible for this role must have at least one role of this type. Employment Selection Day is there to signify that they are old enough for a job. The assignment process goes as follows. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Let's see, did I turn on my pen? A cloth bag is delivered before the school day starts by messenger. The first half of the day, they are at school and are not given work to do. The cloth bag is placed on the teacher's desk. When all pupils are there, regardless of sickness, the teacher takes hold of the bag. Need some commas in there. The pupil comes up voluntarily, but all pupils must collect their rolls. The pupil takes a sheet of A4 from the bag. They unfold the page and declare their roll. If they choose not to declare their roll, it is a bad roll, but a bad roll in the perception of the purpose, not of society. The pupil then goes back to them to wait for their peers' turns. When it is lunchtime, if there are still pupils to be assigned roles, they will be assigned them during their lunch break. However, they have been assigned their role. They will be dismissed, and their new role starts after their lunch break, as does the pupil that are still being assigned roles. The A4 page details what the role is, where's the term or zone segment, who to report to when they find the building, and the role, and if the role is leveled. Some roles are leveled as they have certain process broken down, such as the manufacturing process, or with the complexity of the role. Sometimes the mayor of Berdancaster can attend the Employment Selection Day ceremony. When these happen, it is seen as an honor, and these years are marked along with the pupil that were assigned at the school that year. The mayor, when attending these ceremonies, takes the position of the teacher in the above bullet point list. When this occurs, the teacher stays and observes. They may also give emotional support to some assignees who were hoping too much for a particular role, or that the role is not with their parents or caregiver, etc. When they arrive at the new workplace, they hand their A4 page into who it says to report to, and they are shown how to do their new role. The probation period of 8 months also starts. After the probation period ends, if they are good at the job, they keep it. However, if they are not good at the role, they will be reassigned to another role from City Hall in 212. There are no social ramifications for when a role is reassigned unless it is the person's attitude that is at fault. It is seen that the job will eventually stick, and the person will not need to be reassigned. Okay. Very good information in here. This is some good. This is a good list of the events that happen. The things that I would recommend. First of all, the paragraphs are a bit. The paragraphs need to be focus on one topic so that it makes it flow easily. Of course, grammar and spelling, and commas. Shortening the sentences would help a lot for readability. And I would probably, in this list, I do like the list, but I would recommend that the list be solely listing of actions that are happening and not include commentary. Meaning, like this indent, if they choose not to declare the role, that could be a separate paragraph afterward, so not to clutter up the list. But the list would be just simple, here's the agenda, and it goes straight to that. And we could go from there. It is interesting though. I wonder if anyone ever if there's ever any corruption in the employment selection day. As long as there are humans, there's going to be corruption. And the idea came to me when you talked about the mayor of Birdingcaster can attend the employment selection day ceremony. And I just gotta wonder if there is some nepotism that could creep into this, or there's a special ceremony for specific people where only specific opportunities are made available. I just think that would be intriguing if that turned into to be the case, and if that um, was seen as underhanded, or if that was just par for the course. Who knows? But yeah. Uh, okay, so you do have the extra employment page. There we go. Elective jobs, core jobs. Okay, I would like to see if there was a better list of the examples of the jobs, because you only have a couple of examples that are listed here. But I would, if you could flesh that out, maybe not for summer camp, but it would be nice to know, because you only have the two examples it, in that page. But yeah, any questions for me, James? It is an article called Professions Under Professions. Oh, is that this one right here? Further resources, professions, type of. The comments are interesting. All right. Yeah, that's interesting. People walking around, and the pupils during lunchtime going around trying to trade their professions. I could totally see that happening. You could add a section header here, call unofficial rules, or uh, or or changes or something like that, and saying, though discouraged, it often happens that the students go around with each other's papers and try to trade. You know, that could be an interesting thing. And you're saying in the world codex, professions. Oh, okay, cord. Oh, wow, yeah. Excellent, excellent. But see, I do wonder. It does seem a little odd to me that, yeah, this is lots of articles, but it does seem odd to me that children who, say you have parents who are bakers, the child has helped with the bakery the whole time. If the child wants to continue being a baker, I don't, is that not allowed? I mean, yeah. Okay. Well, good job. It does open a lot of questions and interesting social impacts on how this, and that is one reason why I want journeyman. Okay. Going over to the live stream. Okay. James, thank you very much. I hadn't asked it yet. Oh. All right. Well, there is that, and we have another article critique that we'll showcase from Amelie. We'll go into this now. Oh, you hadn't asked the question yet? Oh, okay. This is your letter prompt. Okay. So I'm just going to go down to. I really like this thing here. That's just really cool right there. I like it. Okay, so taking a look at this, let me go. Yeah. Ah, version français. Lucien Roi de France Français, in the name of the French people and their parliament. To Victoria, Queen of England, Wales, and Ireland, in the name of her parliament. That's really Queen Victoria? I don't think I've seen that picture before. I gotta say, beautiful photos that you have here from Wikimedia Commons. Yeah, beautiful photos. All right. Paris, the 11th of August, 1830. All right. It is with great shock that we have learned of the recent events that have occurred in Karlsruhe. Despite all of the promises of friendship and appeasement made to our face, you only wait for us to turn our back to stab us cowardly. That is an opening sentence, opening paragraph. And yet, now you have the gall to pretend surprise and dismay at our actions, to declaim your innocence in such matters. Who do you think to fool with such outrageous actions? Are your people so simple-minded to believe this act? It must be obvious to all that your acts cannot be construed as anything but encouragement of sedition in Ames, Verdun, and Strasbourg, all while your allies are amassing armies in Basel. Okay. Beautiful neutrality of the Swiss, that is. You all conveniently wait to declare it until they were finished invading us. And now you intend to taunt us with your army, standing just beyond our border, out of reach, unless we violate this so-called neutrality, so you can pretend to be outraged by our actions. And beyond even that, now you are sending your best battle mage division to Baden, boldly having them walk all along our eastern border to reach it. And you dare think that we would do nothing to stop them communicating with the traitors inside our lands? You dare be insulted by the mere interception of seditious communications when you have tested our patience and goodwill for so long? And what reason do you have for such actions? What justifications do you advance for your betrayal? None, of course, for you do not dare say out loud that what you are attempting to do is subvert the natural freedom of the French people to decide their fate and elect their own monarch, despite having signed a treaty to this very effect just 15 years ago. But why are we surprised? Why are we shocked? This behavior is, after all, in keeping with your actions in the past centuries, always pretending to be invested with nothing but the purest sentiments and intentions, while only waiting long enough for us to lower our guard to strike against us. You always uh, renegade on your engagement as soon as it becomes convenient for you to do so. Moreover, you are not content in doing so. No, you always feel the need to incite others to join you in your betrayals and immorality, so as to be able to pretend to be part of a natural movement rising against so-called oppression, as well as leave others to bear the consequences of your acts. Again and again you repeat the same actions. Every time France rises to the occasion and defeat coalition after coalition of our enemies, you dare cry at the devastation occurring in Europe and lament the deaths and lack of peace, only to be in the next instance, the perfidious devils whispering poisonous thoughts in the minds of the monarchs of all of Europe. Again and again, breaking every treaty, walking over any restored friendship, and doing so only so that you can pride yourselves on your sanctimonious moral superiority by giving yourselves an enemy to fight, killing millions merely for the sake of your vanity, because you cannot stand to have another country shadow your supposed might. But that is enough repeating of what is already known to all individuals with any knowledge of history or politics. What happened is clear, and what must come is no less obvious. War you want, war you will receive. Lucien Roy de Francais. Dang. That is a letter to Victoria, Queen of England. Oh, that's a declaration of war. Is that selling it short to just call it a letter? This is a declaration. Um, Perfidious Albion. I need to add somewhere. This is also being sent to the newspaper. Ooh, yeah, that this is not that I think that's very important to mention because this okay, let me couch some of my comments this way. This is August 1830. The people of 1830 talk very differently than the people of 2021. And this is French in origin, and I'm presuming that this is a translation of a French document in English. So, I mean, because if I go to the version Francois, c'est avec un grand choc que nous avons appris le récent envoûtement suivant à Carouche malgré tous les promos d'amitié déploiement qui nous ont fait en France. Vous n'attendez que nous ayons les dos tournés pour nous poignarder l'attachement. Okay, how did I do? Sure. Well, that's the French version. Let me give you the English version. Oh, thank you, Emily, for putting that in there. Did I do okay? It's been a while since I've done French. RAI. Okay. All right. So, having said that, the reason why I wanted to look at the French and look at that, not that I can translate it at all, but I would think that the grammar of the French document, let us say I recognize some. That is much kinder than I probably deserve. um, I think the grammar is more important in the French document than it is in the English document because this is being written by Lucien that it needs to be grammatically correct in the French, not so much in the English one. I Because if there are things that don't translate well, then I would stick to it. I don't know if the sentences need to be shorter. This is where we come into the differences between 1830 and today's grammar. Because if you were to go back and read documentation from the French in 1830, did they use long sentences? Did they use these kind of words? What was the grammar that they would use in their word choice? Were the diplomatic? I wrote in English first. Translating back to in French was harder. Okay. Well, because to me, this is a very bold statement. And the only document that I could really compare this to, I mean, I feel that this is a declaration of war. And the only thing I can really compare it to in my historical knowledge is the Declaration of Independence written by the Continental Congress, written also to England. And even in there, they are couched more in the words and art of diplomacy. This document sounds like Lucien is ready for an all-out brawl and is just ready to spit in their faces. Whereas the Declaration of Independence, I think, is a little bit more detached, but goes into the list of grievances that they have with King George. And Yes, they are here. Okay. So I think it's a fun read. It leaves nothing to the imagination, as in that they just really, really want. I mean, he is his royal person is just ticked off. So I the English murdered Napoleon, then meddled with our elections or the next kings, and now they don't like the last elected king. Okay, so this is what's happening in your alternate timeline, because I don't think I thought Napoleon was like banished. Basically, Lucien is an officer from the army who gets elected king, just as Napoleon was in my. Ah, okay. Well, yeah. I think, but there are some. There are also some talk of the English having poisoned Napoleon in his ex. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. I think it's a fun document. And I think it fills it fleshes out the world, it gives motivation, it gives context to different articles. I think it is a lot of fun. But the only recommendation I have is how closely do you want to tie it to the feeling of the 1830s? But the fact that Lucien is a soldier who is elected king makes more sense, because he may not have had the training in diplomacy that someone who was born royal and raised royal. See that? So this gruffness, this directness actually makes more sense now, knowing that he was a soldier first and then he was elected, similar to Napoleon. Okay, so so I may need to go back on my comments. All right. Yeah, great job. That's We have another one from Moonflower Rider. This is what I was hoping to happen. I was worried that not enough missing the morning marches this morning would negatively affect how many people came to the thing. Okay, so Quartz Point. Cool. Okay, etched Ecos pen, an item. Taking a look at this. All right. Okay, this is an item. Sorry. I warn you of the 4 a.m. brain. Oh, I'm very familiar with 4 a.m. brain. Etched Ecos pens are stylus-like writing tools made of Ecos. They are capable of writing on any surface or even in the air. Interesting. These pens don't require ink, and if especially made ink is not used, the writing of the pen will appear a deep black in color. The only type of ink this pen is capable of using is crushed Ecos ink. Utilizing this ink is the only way to change the color of the writing the pen produces. Etched Ecos pens are custom made only. There is no standard model. Making one of these pens is the first test of Incos craftspeople. If the pen they make fails to write, they must go through an additional year of schooling before reattempting the test. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Unlike the Ecos these pens are made from, putting the pen in your mouth in any way will not trigger any electrical reactions. The pens typically taste vaguely sweet and tart, like the aftertaste of a strawberry, although some put different flavored caps on the end of the pens to satisfy any need to chew while thinking. Makers of etched Ecos pens highly recommend against biting down directly on the pen, as it is more likely to break one's teeth than break itself. That is funny. There are many different flavors of pen caps available at the Dun Stantic General Store in Strolk, the capital city of Skaten. These flavors include, but are not limited to, the following. Okay, I want dwarven bacon now. Can I just say that? I don't know what makes dwarven bacon different than regular bacon, but I'm all in. Blueberry, caramel, kiwi, lemon. Okay, now this is a very interesting list. Okay, because uh, I always chuckle when I get the future me clip that. Oh, you found a literal in real life list. Okay, so let's talk lemon. A very good choice. Nice. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this list and what. Maybe I need to move this over a little bit so I'm not sitting in front of it. Okay, the reason why I want to. Okay, just talk. Your country, your city that you have here, do they natively grow all of these things? Or is your technology and your culture sufficiently advanced to have trade so all of these could be available in one area? For example, kiwis and lemons grow in a completely different environment than maple. Okay? Cherry trees actually grow quite well here in the foothills of Utah, but may not grow well in the hot, arid areas of other locations. And bananas would not go well anywhere else. So, this isn't an issue about the article itself. It's just, yes, you grab this as a real thing. Um, Same with blueberries and pumpkins not growing well in tropical or hot areas. Exactly right, geek. That and so my question is the do the are these exotic flavors? Are they are the people of Ithan sufficiently has sufficient commerce that supports the transport of materials and actual fruit um, going across. Okay, gnomish tinkering, not all grown in Scraton, but they were able to figure out how to flavor things as other things without having the issue of climates. Some of the flavors are considered exotic. Excellent. Okay, yeah, because that's just one of those tiny details because it we are truly spoiled here, especially in the United States, to have so many exotic foods. I saw this meme on Facebook yesterday. Yeah, I was scrolling through Facebook, but it was if you took a person from the a medieval person and brought them today, what would they be more surprised at? And they said, would they be more surprised at the latest Apple iPhone? Or would they be more surprised at the available spice racks in the grocery aisle? And it was a picture from a grocery store. We've all seen that part of that shelf or that part of the aisle in a grocery store where there are just rows and rows and shelves full of all these different spices available for purchase. When you think of a medieval person who gets salt, maybe some, other things, and then they could walk into a grocery store and they see this vastness of wealth easily brought together in one place to be purchased for a couple of bucks. You know, I thought that was an interesting thing. So I don't, so for us, modern day, having this long list of pen caps, yeah, no problem whatsoever. But if it is an older society or a society without sufficient technology of transport, yeah, it would be interesting. But for 4 a.m., your 4 a.m. brain, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Like Squid Ink. Oh, yeah. I think of the price of things might be a shock. When someone gets paid a shilling a week, they might be shocked at having to pay £2 for a loaf of bread. Oh yeah, inflation. Yeah, that's yeah, that's a thing. All right, very nice, very nice. Yeah, because we have these Empire Real. A kilo, yeah, a kilo of flour. That'll be a real and 2 pence. I marked four things as exotic based solely on temperature climate things. Yeah, very good. Okay. Now this is gonna be weird. Okay. Uh by kilogram of wheat price. Because I love okay, because I metric tons of wheat. You can yeah, let's buy wheat by the metric ton. Dang. No, I this is the wrong website. We do not need to buy wheat by the metric ton. Um, and these are also in India. Because it just wheat prices 40-year chart. But these are also by bushel, and I don't know kilograms to bushels. Let me just look at that. Kilograms to bushels. Ah, a bushel of okay. A bushel of that's corn. Let's go wheat. Okay, 25 kilograms in a bushel. Okay, and here it's saying that it's $6.92 per bushel. $6.92 divided by 25-ish. So that means that 1 kilogram is roughly a quarter, a little more than a quarter. So the Empire Real, since it is a kilo of wheat, is that. So we have roughly 27 cents for a real, and multiply that by 15 reals for the pen. Multiply 15. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not on the screen. So these pens, based on some really roughing, it's about $4 a pen. That is actually reasonable in today's market, but I'm just not sure if that's reasonable. This is medieval-esque more than modern. Wheat was more labor intensive. Good point. Very good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah. Yeah, that is a good point. Okay. All right, yeah. Any more questions, Moonflower? This is a I would because you're talking about the taste of the rock. We've talked about the construction of it. Um, but also I'd love to know its invention, how it was invented, what it's used for. I mean, it doesn't need ink. These pens don't require ink, but do they ever wear out? Like, for example, this quartz point to here lets get, makes me think that it is a little wear down eventually, won't it? I mean, like I have my stylus here for my uh, XP pen screen, and there's a nib on it, and eventually that nib will wear down. So, do these pens ever wear out? Not to mention, there is more wheat in a bushel of flour than there is in a bushel of wheat, as not all grain goes into the flour. That's very true. But in the article of Empire Real, a kilo of flour is a real and 2 pence, whereas a kilogram of wheat is just a real. Okay, so crystalline magic. All right, it's magic. So I guess they never wear out. Okay, great. Seriously, dwarven bacon though. Mm, I guess I'll just have to dream what dwarven bacon is. Oh no, geek. That's what these 2 hours are for. Only reviews. Only if people don't give me reviews to do. Yeah, that's what these 2 hours are for. From uh, from 9 to 11 Eastern today is just critiques or reviews or however you want to call it. All right. Thank you for the redemption. You were supposed to click that. All right, there we go. Ritual of the Bloodlines. Okay, this is your medical treatment thing. Oh no, see, That it's a very good question that you have, Geek. Is that it's because I wanted to just kind of consolidate it all in one time and give it um, specifically to anyone who wants it, and so that it's not sprinkled all throughout the week, so we can focus on writing, and then we can just focus on critiques at this time. And I kind of want to turn my Saturday streams away from the hardcore writing and into more workshops, more feedback, more community interaction. Um, on That's what my goal is for Saturday mornings. Well, my Saturday mornings. I'm not sure what time zone you all are in. Oh yeah, oh yeah, I have plans. Okay, so we have the ritual of bloodlines. This is a medical cure, treatment, or breakthrough. Excellent. What time zone are you in? I th- I feel that it's safe to ask what time zone you are in, as it doesn't really dox you. It's not like I'm asking your state or your city, though I'm sure it's not too bad to ask that, but Central. All right. Okay, let's get to it. Ritual of bloodlines. Okay. Get that going. So for those of you who want to um, do a sprint, you can. This still is a reporting stream. So if anyone who's writing and you want to report your words that you're writing, please feel free to go ahead. I will still turn in all of the things. Okay, sorry. Okay, ritual of the bloodlines. When someone is pregnant and a problem with the bloodline, okay, when someone is pregnant and a problem with the bloodline, especially curses on descendants, that has been diagnosed by a shaman, said shaman can perform the ritual of bloodlines. Such curses can affect the physical, mental, and luck of the bloodline. Okay? Um, Aftermath. The child's weird, will have no connection to the families. They often leave home early and do not form emotional bonds with the family, no matter the home life. They will not be able to call upon their ancestors, as they will have no spiritual ties to these dead. They will be forced from their own ties or be adopted into a better line through the rite of adoption. The shaman invokes Hindla and the ancestors. They perform the ritual by using chalk, soot, and ochre, to paint runes on the belly of the pregnant parent. They then tie the belly with a cord, chanting. This chant imbues the cord with the power of the bloodline and the threads of wired. When the chanting is done, the shaman cuts the cord to release the child from that lineage. Payment is then made. If a vulva is present, divination may be done to see what will become of the child. Misuses. There are recordings of this ritual being forced due to a ruler or other heir want to ensure that the child does not inherit the throne. Nice. I like that. Okay. Reeling it back in. Very cool. Hindla, Huntavolva, and deity of the bloodline. She keeps records of the genealogy and can read the wired? Weird. Okay, it is the weird of a bloodline. This ritual is done trained shamans or by deities. This ritual can only be done before the child is born. Interesting. Once the child takes its first breath, it is too late. The sooner, the better, however. Okay, tools used. String, caning stick. Okay. Chalk, soot, ochre. That's not how you spell ochre, but I'm not. Weird is fate that is interlaced with other people. The idea that no one is alone in their fate. It's all interconnected. Okay. Ochre. Okay, ochre. For the ancestors who cover dead bodies with red ochre to send them to the next life. Okay. Find paintbrush, scissors, cup of ice, what an offering. Gifted. Oh, okay. Right. Okay. So there are some grammatical issues, and Geek, you are newer to my streams, and so you may not hear a lot of the mantras that I repeat very frequently. One of them is one idea per sentence. And I do like shorter sentences and shorter paragraphs for nonfiction writing, such as these articles that we create for our world building and for summer camp. The the so let's talk about the description of the ritual of the bloodlines. Okay, when someone is pregnant and a problem with the bloodline that has been diagnosed by a shaman, said shaman can perform the ritual of the bloodlines. Okay, so we're having multiple ideas that are being presented within this sentence. We have when the ritual is performed, and how it's diagnosed, and who can perform it. So you have three separate ideas that, and I'm sorry if I'm trying not to offend anyone with how I place my fingers up in the air. Forgive me, I'm American. All right. So we have three situations here that we're talking about. Okay. But so we have when, why, and who. We don't have a what. Okay. It's not off, and then you have the aftermath here. So I would really recommend that you have a sentence at the beginning, or better yet, a whole paragraph in the middle. In the middle, right here, you have a new paragraph explaining what it is. Okay? So, for example, the ritual of bloodlines is necessary when there is a curse. What? Okay, no. The ritual of bloodlines is required when the the unborn child needs to be severed from current genealogies. You see, and maybe that needs a little bit more explanation as well, because it seems like here the power of bloodlines is very strong in your fictional world. I like that choice. I mean, that's a strong choice that you're making, but since it's different from the reality that we have here in reality, then it needs to be explained a little bit more, especially such as myself. This is the first time being introduced to it. So you say, okay, again, sentence one. Within families, bloodlines heavily influence the life of a child. Um, let's see. They meaning the child of royalty is imbued with, and I'm making this up, this may not be what happens in your world, but the child of royalty through their bloodline are bestowed gifts of royalty. uh, Children, families who are cursed, the curse is passed through that. And so if you had a short description of the power of bloodlines, he says, some find it necessary to break the power of the bloodlines between parent and child, or mother and child. Well, it could also be parent and father and yeah, you could do because if well, that's a question actually. Is bloodline more prevalent from paternal or maternal? You know, does the mother's bloodline? Yeah, yes, you could say birth parents and child, but it would be interesting to note because of my brain, I guess, is one bloodline more impactful than another? And that doesn't mean that it's a patriarchal or matriarchal society, but it does say, does the mother's blood, um, does the mother's bloodline influence more heavily since the child is in the mother? I don't know. Yes, it's parent and child. The idea is to do it before the birth because once a child breathes after being born, it's pretty solidified. That's the only reason the mother is in play with the ritual. Okay. Question about the ritual. Does it always cut both bloodlines? Meaning, could you have the father's bloodline cut but preserve the mother's? Or is it, you know, everything? You can't separate it because I really do like here this misuse here. Uh, Being forced due to a ruler or another heir wanting to ensure the child does not inherit the throne. I could see that very used very effectively for bastard children or illegitimate children. So that is really interesting to know. So anyway, so I think that is the majority of the feedback that I would have here. I love the questions that this article raises. I think it's a great idea and leads to a lot of potential conflict. It deals a lot, the stories that I feel coming from this article deal a lot with nature versus nurture. Can someone who's had this ritual of the bloodline performed upon them, could they then overcome the ritual and still become the person that they want to be? So I just think that's really interesting there. Yeah, but yeah, good. So again, for me, shorter sentences, one idea per sentence. That way it's easier to manage the grammar of a sentence when it's not a super long complicated sentence with three independent clauses and stuff like that. All right. Alara Wilder, thank you for reporting your 217 words written during the sprint. Are you participating in the Game of Tomes? If so, you could redeem the lemon channel points and put your your 217 in your specific house and go from there. Geek, I'm happy to do that. All right, there we go. And here's a link, a command for the Game of Tomes, if anyone is curious about that. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Well, Alara Wilder, thank you so much for coming here. You may have only heard it in about the last couple of weeks. No worries. I'm sure there's many house who would love to have you join, regardless of what time it may be. And this is a great time to get ready for NaNoWriMo when we have our really big deal. So feel free to learn more about it. Leaderboards have been asked to be removed. Oh. Oh, that thing that I used to have up there? The stream count thing? Because I have that thing there. And then I have this thing here. So am I to understand that the stream, I think they broke something. Okay, well, I can hide that for now, and then we can see the comments more. No problem. And then let me go back to my camera and chat. Yeah, it's turned off there as well. Okay. All right, we have a raid going on from Isaac A. Tom. Thank you so much for the raid. I really appreciate it. And Jacob W5570, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. Get ready. Get toasty. I had toast for breakfast. I am doing great. We are okay. So today is not morning marches per usual. What we are doing is a stream solely for the review of summer camp articles. So if you have an article that you would like to have reviewed, we're just going to go ahead and do that. Toast with Vegemite. You know what? I haven't had Vegemite. You can't untoast the toast? I don't know that song. But welcome to Satrim. Hey, it's AP, Jacob W. Anyone else? It's very salty. I don't think Vegemite and Marmite are the same. You can't toast either. You toast bread. Hey, Monad. If you ever okay, that was caught by the auto mod, but I'm gonna copy and paste that in because I think it's a, a good sentiment. Okay. If you're ever gonna try it, don't do what every American YouTuber does and smear it on an inch thick. Well, it's the word stupid that was caught for bullying purposes. Though I think in the context I thought was appropriate and not specifically bullying, but you know that's what happens. Uh, it, no, do not do an inch thick spread. Please do it in small bits. Yeah, well, because when I went to college, I spread cream cheese on my bagels and toast super thin because I was a poor college student and I wanted to, have it last a long time. But as I've gotten older, my cream cheese has gotten thicker and thicker and thicker. Never an inch thick. But yeah, I mean, similar products include the Australian Vegemite, whose name is derived from that of Marmite. Yeah. There's nothing preposterous about a well dressed rhinoceros. Okay, it is very strong tasting. Should only be scraped on toast with butter or margarine, but it's awesome added into casserole or soups that have a beef base. Also, spaghetti sauces, anything where you want a rich taste. Oh, so it adds a lot, it helps enhance the savoriness of a meal. Interesting. I don't know what BDT means, James. Cream cheese and butter can be thicker, but an inch thick is only if the cream cheese refuses to spread and I give up and fold the bagel in half. Umame. But oh, thank you, Jane. Oh, Moonflower. Interesting. But I love that. But um, yeah. Well, salt or MS. Well, salt a little bit does help enhance the flavor, but MSG does all. I think sometimes it's called allspice. Does help enhance the flavor, but then has that nasty side effect of making you fall asleep. I just wasted a few minutes watching Smut Geek song about untoasting toast. And apparently Gramley doesn't recognize Indeed. Oh, allspice is not MSG? Okay, all right, I'll stand corrected. Indeed. Well, Indeed is also that job hunting website, which I have unfortunately become very familiar with. Indeed. Mhm. Okay, so this can just the the job hunt is going okay. I had this week my most promising aspect is that I had a hunt. I had for the same job an interview with the recruiter. Then hey, Element Heads, thanks for the raid. Um, I had a interview with the recruiter. I then had an interview with the hiring manager at the company. I was given a homework assignment for said position, and now I have an interview on Monday with the hiring manager and his team. So um, this is the first time I've gotten this far along in the process to be hired. I do hope it goes well. Being unemployed while giving me plenty of time to hang out with you all, and I love you all. Um, it just, I need a job. I have kids. Oh, 3 interviews, usually a minimum. Yeah, getting the resume. All right, see you, Moon Cloud. Recruiters can be fun. I've had 6 of them contact me over the last months. They all stop calling when I tell them my minimum salary, not taking a pay cut. Yeah. See, I don't know what's going to happen with this stream when when I start a new job. My job I had prior to this, before being laid off, um, was working at home. So I didn't have that commute time. I didn't have to drive anywhere. So I could stream, turn everything off, grab something to eat, and then jump straight into my job. I'm not sure what's going to happen here if, to stream and then have to drive to work and be there and stuff like that. So it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. But I still love. Oh no, this is a very different job. I've applied. How many jobs have I applied for? I think I'm in, the high double digits of jobs that I've applied for. Just resume, cover letter. And, it's taken a lot of my time to do that because finding a job is a full-time job. So, yeah. Exactly, Jacob. Yeah. Easily 40. Yeah, yeah. Well, I have a lot of coworkers who use LinkedIn like Facebook. They share articles, they write articles, they post things. I do use LinkedIn more like an overglorified resume repository, but all right. Hey, AP, have a good one. Enjoy your D&D stream. Yeah, I get a lot of contacts. And I love chatting, but if anyone does have an article they would like to have critiqued for the summer camp, that's what we're focusing on, or we can go into a writing sprint. Ooh, that's the harsh one. But if you're still getting emails from LinkedIn, you can do the forget password thing, and then you can delete your account or turn it off or whatever. I'm just impressed that you're still using an email after 8 years. That's impressive. Yes, it is very late there, Element. You have a great one. Yep, good time zone. Oh, that's interesting, Jacob. Nice. 18 years. Hey, Satrium. Your first Hotmail. I do not have my first Hotmail. All right. Oops, that chat got over here got there. Well, I'm going to turn the music back on. Give a little bit of background here. And I'm going to start looking at some of my articles here. And what I can do is, oops. Thank you for reset. You should try Hotmail. It's better than Gmail for professional stuff. It might be easier to integrate with Microsoft stuff without extensions. That is a that is yeah, Eternal Grandmasters get 90 coins per day. Or every time I log in. Not per day, but per login once a day. Yeah, that was modded because close it was considered aggressive. I'm going, whatever. If Hotmail does integrate well with Microsoft products because it is a Microsoft product, but in all of my previous employments, we have integrated a lot with Google Docs and Gmail and stuff like that. So yeah. So there's that. Ooh, Emily, you're a sage? Awesome. Grandmasters get 80, Eternal GM 90, Masters get 50. Obviously, they're preparing to be around for some time to come. Ah. Inner Sanctum gets 200. Holy cow. Oh, Emily, you're Eternal Sage. Nice. Yeah, I was considering Eternal Sage, but I didn't have a job. I couldn't swing that one. All right, so let me just take a look at, oops. I've been waiting to force you to ask me to give you CSS. So I'm going to go back to my World Anvil articles. And let's see. Let's pick something that I have. Darn, I don't have the link there. Well, let's look at my articles, and then I'll just edit it live without turning off my microphone. And world building. Okay, here's my 2021. The spices cultivation and trades from Eshadama. We'll do that one. This is my view. My spices one is my export one. So what I've been doing, let's put it right here. Okay. So I use ClickUp to track all of my stuff that I'm working on and their different statuses. So what I've done here is I have my article. All right, it is what it is. I haven't really gone through it. And so what I'm going to do is open Grammarly. Oh, congrats, James. Full year on World Anvil. Awesome. So I'm going to create a new document. And this is the process I go through. All right, Alara, have a great sleep. So I'll copy this and I will dump it in here. Create it. And we'll just call that one. We'll call this analytical to inform. Right, done. Okay, so now I have all of these things that are the problem with it. And so what and now I'm just going to go through and make the changes to the article based on what Grammarly is recommending, and then I will be able to say it's good enough for the competition, because these were articles that I used Dragon Naturally Speaking on. And using Dragon Naturally Speaking can lead to errors with homophones or words that sound the same but are different. Fairy versus fairy. Fairy, the magical creature, versus ferry, the boat, is a big one that I have to deal with. And the way you speak is not always grammatically correct. And, oh, HK Darkwood, thank you very much. And just in time for James's favorite song. Yes, you do love this song. Very fairy fairy. Yes, that was a very fairy fairy. But hey, Darkwood, thank you so much for being here. Do words still count as homophones if they're only the same in certain accents? That is an interesting question. I, not being the strict grammarian, I would say that for those accents, they probably would be the same. Yeah. Yeah, I can't off the top of my head, I can't think of an example of what you're talking about, Monad. Oh, fairy and fairy are not the same for you, but most American, they are. Okay, that's true. Okay. Yeah. So I think it's fair to say for the American English, it is a homophone, but for yours, it isn't. Which one do you pronounce differently? I gotta know now. Okay, the high mountains of the seaside country allows for many biomes to use for year-round cultivation. Okay, so just because it identifies an error within the sentence doesn't mean that that is the error that needs to be corrected. So, like, to be used, the air in fairy well then is it the boat? How do you pronounce the boat? Like furry? Fair? Oh. Good on Moonflower. Keep James busy. Very. Fairy. Oh, like the Fae. Fairy. Is that fairy versus fairy? The high mountains of the seaside country allows for many biomes to be used for year-round cultivation. Okay. Change the verb form. Allow. Okay, the high mountains of this allows many biomes. Let's get rid of allow. Creates. Created. Let's just get that. Created many biomes to be used for year-round. Okay, the high mountains of the seaside country created many biomes to be used for year-round cultivation. All right. Oh, okay. And see, that's the challenge, where you can hear my voice, but I can't hear your voice. That is a challenge. Okay, so I do find that I speak in a very passive manner. And active voice is very important to use in fiction because passive feels weak. Passive does not really help. If you know what I'm. Fairy. Huh. So when a match was found, that farming spot was prepared and sown. Okay, so I need to use the active voice. Oh, it's okay. So your emphasis, there's emphasis and emphasis. You got to put your emphasis on the right syllables as opposed to emphasis on the right syllables. The industrious farmers and merchants worked together to find or create locations where the plants could be grown and harvested. When a match was found, the farming spot was prepared and sown. Yeah. These farming spots were prepared and sown with the imported plants. There's a definite different mouth shape on the F. With fairy, my mouth opens much wider. Okay. All right. Vari, and very. Oh, hey, we have a World Anvil article review that has been submitted by Barbarossa Sparklebuild. Hello, Barbarossa. Captain, my captain. Welcome. So let's get into an article review. How the 52.5 hex are you? I'm doing all right. That's so funny. That's it? Am I missing something? Click the button, read the... Oh, it's going... That's a really small article, Barbarossa. Read the document. Okay. Ooh. How'd you do this? From the Imperial Office of the Military Registrar, proclamation announcing the Magus Rite. Date announced. BB code and tears. Isn't that the case? BB code and tears. This proclamation hereby decrees by our most imperial majesty Empress Genovia Rothswith Helmina Sasha Fanestock, in union of the two houses of arms and coins on the date, henceforth, all persons who hold national citizenship imbued with thaumaturgical ability shall be placed under the protective and watchful eye of our state-operated and funding boarding academies to ensure their safety and the safety of all citizens. This decree, in unison with the National Militaries Act of year, proclaims that all citizens with thaumaturgical ability shall be placed in protective custody at the age of 12. They shall receive academic etiquette and military training for the minimum of 6 years in addition of 2 years active service. Furthermore, this decree grants the Imperial Office of the Military Registrar, and in unison with the Imperial Military of Ardras, the ability to call upon mages under 35 years of age to serve the nation in times of war. May God's favor our Empress. Weisenberg, printed in Edric Das Grosser Printmaster, to the Emperor's most excellent informer. Interesting. Magnus Wright of Drazila. What an interesting proclamation that you have here. That is an awesome seal. You drew that? Nice. Wow. What did you use to draw that? Photoshop? Illustrator? That's nice. Paint.net. Cool. I think this is a really interesting document that you have here. And the fact that you have it in this BB code thing here, I think is a really interesting choice. It makes it, if I take it off of the full screen here, it does make it look more like a piece of paper. So I think that works well. What kind of feedback? It sounds very much like an imperial document, though I do feel, and maybe this is me reading into things, but I feel that there's a sinisterness behind this. Because this is basically describing, if I'm understanding this correctly, a draft that all children with thaumaturgical ability, which when I think of thaumaturgy, I think of D&D and just making noises and simple telekinetics. So I may not fully understand your use of this word here, but it sounds like all of the kids who can do magic are forcibly round up and sent to school for 6 years to be trained as soldiers and put in the army for 2. It's a national conscription, a yearly annual draft for young people. Okay. And compulsive education in government schools. I'm not saying whether this is good or bad, but I'm saying this is thaumaturgy is basically your overall magic system. Got it. Okay. Good. Okay. Hey, Dinosaur Bob. This is for your Rifle Mage universe. Oh, oh yeah, okay. Okay, so I like this document for the following reason. It's controversial. This, I think, as the draft did in the 1970s and the Vietnam War, 60s and 70s, I may have my years off. There were people that were for the draft, there were people who were against the draft, and there were people of all parts of society that had very different points of view of the draft. This, I think, could, if allowed, have the same sociological the same sociological impact on your society as well, and that divisiveness could be a wonderful breeding ground for conflict and for story, because there were a million stories during the America. Every single person had a story about the draft. My father, he was told that he was about to be drafted the next day, so he went and joined officer candidate school. Oh, it does. It will be explored in my work. Excellent. Excellent. The National Militaries Act of date, in conjunction to the Magus Right and Arms Act, granted the Adras Imperial Military unparalleled power in the country, allowing universal conscription for all. This transformed and fused the military with the nobility, allowing the two to become one. Interesting. Combining the fusion of military and nobility. Well, if you think about it, in European history specifically, the nobility were the warriors, the knights. You could be noble because of your military prowess, or you could be noble based on how much land you owned. And usually the amount of land you owned was based on how well you served the king, and if you served the king well, usually in battle. So this, yeah, makes a lot of sense. But universal conscription, yeah. Very nice article. I am interested though. Why did you decide to do this pop-up? Moonflower Writer, I just had a look at your profession response, and you're not kidding about giving me a lot of work. Call back. So I am interested, Barbarossa, on why you made that decision. So instead of putting this here, it was available under the document article format, and I wanted to look like an actual piece of paper. Yes, Moonflower, go ahead. Could you reprovide the link, please? Yeah, but good stuff there. I really like the. I would uh, love to see more here on the actual document itself. Explain, the year it was done, who did it, the social impact, and stuff like that. I'm working on the. I am working on the actual document. I was trying too hard to make the document look nice. Yeah, that form versus that form versus content. That's an eternal battle. Well, good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Let's see, that almost happened in England and the US as well in the Civil War. The higher gentry of planters in the South became the officer corps. In the North, it was local politicians or the educated and successful. Yeah. Okay, so we're quickly revisiting this article here. Moonflower. Uh, I need an opinion on font size. Well, let me. Okay, I don't have any zoom in. Okay, we have some inconsistency here in the line spacing. This is much tighter than this. It's interesting. The second paragraph is new, and I'd like you to pretty please tell me if you like the spacing of the first or second paragraph better. The second, definitely the second. And this one too. If I was reading it in a book, I would probably like the first one, but where we're reading this online, I definitely like the second one better. Only ICOS craftspeople and their apprentices are permitted by law to work with ICOS. The price of this type of pen is largely dependent on the skill with which it was made, i.e., a pen made by a master is priced more than one made by an apprentice. These pens, when made by a renowned expert with utmost care, can fetch upwards to 60 real. Pens custom made for the buyer by such a renowned expert with equal amounts of care can sell for well over 80 real, provided that the pens are not being resold. Ah, okay. Cool. Yeah, I like the second paragraph. A close-up tip of an etched ICOS pen.